We head over to softball. It is our end of the season review for softball. So same format here. We go over to MVP, and it's hard to argue that it was not Bailey Klingler. So obviously we went with Bailey Klingler here, who played a little bit over the outfield, played a good amount of time at shortstop, played a good amount of time at third as well, mixed some time over at second base as well, I believe. But anyway, had a 434 batting average. Yes, a 434 batting average, a 1.448 OPS, playing in every game, 75 hits, 46 runs, 13 doubles, 2 triples, 24 homers, 71 runs batted in, 164 total bases, a 948 slugging percentage, 23 walks, a 500 on base percentage, and 3 stolen bases. On the defensive side of the ball, obviously earning Pac-12 defensive honors. 57 putouts, 70 assists, a 948 fielding percentage, and 2 double plays. I would nitpick one thing, and that would be the 7 errors she had on the year. But at the end of the day, you're in all Pac-12 honors defensively. You can't complain about much. And was as well as the offensive impact that Klingler's had, somebody that is just always bringing positivity to this ball club. That really seems like one of the leaders on this club, it seems. Someone that's just been incredible since coming here via the transfer portal from Texas A&M. Just incredible as a player and as a person off of the diamond as well. And I could say the same exact thing for the next person that we have on this list for pitcher of the year, Gabby Plane. It's hard to understate how great of a player and as a person it seems that Gabby Plane has been. Obviously, we'll get to her leaving here in a second here, as well as another award that she won. But Plane on this last season, a 1.93 ERA, a 1.14 WHIP, a 20 win, 8 loss record, 17 complete games, 9 shutouts, 181.1 innings pitched, and 210 strikeouts on the year. Simply put, Gabby Plane is incredible. It is hard to describe her in a way that does her complete justice. But at the end of the day, there will never be a Gabby Plane. Obviously, when you look at the pitching numbers, Daniel Laurie's name comes up a lot. But it's incredible to see how much steadiness there was with Plane. Just consistency. I talked about it with baseball, right? Consistency there was with Plane, and how much confidence that this team had going into a game, knowing that, hey, we've got a Gabbie Plane on our side. She's going to be stepping into the circle, and we always have a chance with her. And that goes, I say that always have a chance part. You think about the Michigan games last year in the postseason. So I remember too a little bit with the sort of COVID-y season, 2020. Well, not as much 2020, but 2021. Just kind of following along with softball and seeing Gabby Plane's name pop up a lot. There was the UW Dog Pound Twitter account with the Aussie meme. Just someone that will be remembered forever in the purple and gold. And there's some players. There's a player too. I would put Klingler in that regard as well. Just incredible. The greatness that we get to watch. Newcomer of the year. I with the freshmen, you could have kind of gone a bunch of different ways. Fiedler had some great impact towards the end of the year. Holtorf had her moments and will continue to grow. So will Fiedler. Olivia Johnson, though, in terms of the stats on paper, took the cake here for newcomer of the year. A 261 batting average, a 1.011 OPS, 31 hits, 23 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 11 homers, 25 RBIs, 70 total bases, a 5.88 slugging percentage, 31 walks, and a .423 on base percentage. Johnson really blew up during the invitational stages, continued to just mash and mash and mash. And you see her numbers to finish out the year are not bad. Just somebody who ceded more of the catching duties to someone that we'll look at here in a second, but continued to make an impact as a designated player. And it will be really cool to see her growth as well as all of the freshmen. It's they've got a really great leadership group. You've got Sis Bates is still within the program. Heather Tarr is an incredible coach. So these I think we've talked about this before, but the freshmen in this program have such great uh, people and role models to look up to. Um, in terms of the growth award for softball, I went with catcher Jen Cummings. Cummings, as I kind of mentioned, has taken the majority of the catching duties, starting in all but 4 games that she played in. A 250 batting average, 24 hits, 15 runs, 8 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a 396 slugging percentage, 9 walks, 405 on base percentage, and a 997 fielding percentage. Just took way more of a role as a catcher this year, obviously, after having Morgan Flores on this club. I think Cummings, there's still some room to grow there, but really being able to take over that role and be someone that, you start all but 4 games that you play in, I would say there's some growth there. So hats off to Jen. Defender of the Year, I know that I talked about this in the baseball segment that I didn't want to have people double up, but Bailey Klinger, someone who won the Pac-12 some Pac-12 defensive honors, kind of had to go with her. As I mentioned, the 57 putouts, 70 assists, and 948 fielding percentage, and 2 double plays on the year. Again, with Klingler, you look at the offensive numbers and you look at the defensive numbers as well. It's incredible to think about the caliber of player that you've got there. Game of the year, it was kind of tough to look at this one because a lot of the times with softball, they kind of steamrolled people. I went with the May 22nd game versus Texas. They won the final day of that regional, the first game of the day, a 2-1 win. This was a game that everything's on the table here. Texas got the first run across. Maddie Husky hits a 2-run homer to give the Huskies the lead, and they never looked back. And it just showed you, Klingler was obviously, we got her as our MVP, but Husky too, her name, she was a big part of this club and its success. So that's where I went with that direction there. And that kind of feeds into the biggest strength of this club. There was a lot of power throughout this lineup, a lot of power. And I think they hit the most homers in a season that they ever have. I could be wrong. Klingler led far and away with the homer department on this team with 24. But this also feeds into an area address. Looking into this next season, you're going to lose a Gabbie Plain. You're losing Pat Moore as well. Starting pitching has to be looked at. You got to think, hey, who's going to take over that role? Brooke Nelson went 5-0 in her starts. Had a pretty damn solid year in the circle as well. You look at Pat Moore. I almost said Pat Moore. I apologize, Pat. You look at Brooke Nelson, Sarah Willis, Kelly Lynch. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to forget anybody. Let's take a look here. But and I don't want to be biased because I know that we've talked to Brooke, but she had some really solid numbers. And so I don't remember who I talked to about this right after it finished, but after the softball season finished. But it's at some point you have to think there will be some sort of awards in the pitching department. Maybe not, but effectively there are big shoes to fill, So we look at it on the year. Yeah, no, I got it. Nelson, Lynch, and Willis are the players that didn't leave this roster and will be pitching next season. So who's going to fill that role? And then hitting consistency is what I was alluding to with the power hitting. At times the bats went quiet, and it's just a lot of their runs in the regional were scored off of homers, and that's something that you don't necessarily want to rely on. And just being able to consistently hit more. I looked at this roster's batting averages, and you look at the top 3 or 4, and they're really good, and then you kind of see some drop off. And granted, maybe that's because of the caliber of player that you've got on this roster. But overall, I think just hitting consistency is something that could be improved on. So with that being said, things to look forward to. Another year of Bailey Klingler. She will be back next season. And then a largely returning roster. Granted, there is the possibility of transfer portal. But the only players that are going to be moving on, at least that I know of, are Gabby Plane and Pat Moore. So you think about that, that's a pretty large returning roster. So we'll ultimately have to see about that in the offseason, and we'll obviously keep you updated on that. But certainly things to look forward to overall. Always really happy with softball. They continue to be a incredible program at this university that since we've been doing this show, and obviously beforehand, but in regards to the show, since we've been doing the show, have always been good. And always, it's like I remember with Bennett when we were recording the podcast mainly, he was going, "Hey, these softball scores are incredible." It's like, yeah, they are. So we head over to team-related news on the 26th. Gabby Plane was named the 2021 Seattle Sports Star of the Year. She is the fifth Husky named the Sports Star of the Year, joining Sis Bates, Ali Aguilar, Danielle Laurie, and Becky Newbury. And I apologize, I misspoke. Fifth softball Husky named the Sports Star of the Year, ranking top 10 in program history and career ERA, appearances, games started, wins, saves, complete games, shutouts, innings pitched, strikeouts, and winning percentage. Again, it is really hard to sum up Gabby Plane's career because she'll go down as one of the top two pitchers in this program of all time. I'm not going to sit here and compare. That's not what we're going to do. But it isn't really notable to look at all she did, see that she was recognized by the Seattle Sports Commission, and really just a nod of the cap. I'm excited to see what she does in AU softball. And also on the 26th, Bailey Klingler earned the number 3 overall spot in Softball America's top 10 players of the month. Klingler, again, just like with Plane, hard to really put their impacts into words. And me, sometimes I ramble on, so best to not have me do that. We're going to begin the month of June, obviously. And it'll be really interesting to see when things start to pick up. We'll obviously keep you updated on that, as well as on the social medias. Like if you follow us here on Instagram, on Twitter, Circling Sports, at Circling Sports, Facebook, Circling Seattle Sports. Also making sure to go and follow us so that you can keep an eye on one of these matchup pucks. Obviously, there's more than these two. Say I have about 9. But with that being said, this has been the June 1st edition of Woof Wednesdays. I am your host, Charles Hamaker, as always. And until we see you again next Wednesday, do whatever you can to make today a great day.